Good evening. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you had a good one. It's a beautiful, warm Christmas evening outside here in Houston. And we did end up making a high temp at Bush today of 81, so way above the normal of 64. That was at 3:41 this afternoon. But we did not hit the all-time record for the warmest Christmas ever recorded that we know of. That will remain at 83, and that high was set back in 2015. Record low, 11 degrees on that bitter cold Christmas of 1983. So in 1983, I'm going to say just, what was I, 15, 16, 15? We stayed below freezing for 3 days, did not get above freezing. A lot of folks went out of town, and then when they came back, they found their pipes had burst in their home, and it was just a gigantic mess. It was so bitter cold. So, you know, it can get very, very cold at Christmas time here as well. Just this year, it's going to be unusually warm. That particular Christmas of 83, I turned the sprinkler on in the backyard at night, and I did not tell my dad. And then in the morning, it had not gotten above freezing, and the icicles were this long, hanging off of everything. I killed every plant in the backyard. I killed tree. We had a couple of trees back there. I don't think they made it either. But I remember my dad didn't get mad. He was just like, look what you did, boy. Look what you did. So we'll have to make a new bar on the graphic for the highest warmest Christmas days in Houston. 2015 will stand at 83. Number 2 will be 1964 at 82. So today we hit 81. So we're going to squeeze 2025 right in there. And then 2025 right in there. And then 2016, 2021, we had a high of 80. So today represents the 3rd warmest Christmas that Houston has ever recorded. Outside right now, Galleria area. So we're getting some of those mid-level clouds with moisture coming off the Gulf. That cloud ceiling, which is way up here now, a couple of thousand feet up, it's going to lower as we go through the overnight like it has, and we'll end up bumping the surface of inland areas quite a bit. We will see fog tomorrow morning for inland areas. But right now, visibility is all good. Hobby 74, Sugarland 74, Tomball 73, Galveston at 68. And the quad cams, again, you can see the mid-level cloudiness representing moisture coming off the Gulf, You can probably see the flag up there at the top of what was the AIG building. That's got that's the wind direction south to north, pulling in the moisture off the Gulf of Mexico. You can see it there with the cloud deck lit up. Houston downtown from the Gulf Freeway, quiet. Galleria area, we were looking at that. And then looking from above down to the surface of Galveston Island, you can see the cloud on the ground, just scraping along the ground there. That's sea fog. Waves going in and out, visibility drops, visibility improves, visibility drops across the island as the fog continues to come off the Gulf of Mexico and keep it foggy down there on the coast and the bay. What a beautiful shot that is. Now let's go down into the clouds, down to the surface, and here we are. Let's see, Murdoch's is here, Pleasure Pier is here. That is the light, I believe, on top of the Ferris wheel at the top of Pleasure Pier. I believe that's what that is. It's either that or it's Rudolph and Santa exiting after picking up a late lunch, and now they're off. So it's been that kind of a day. It will be a foggy Christmas night, and we'll wake up early tomorrow morning with fog across most of the area. Be really careful. Visibility will drop at times to a quarter mile, widespread half-mile visibility for inland areas as we get into Friday morning. In the morning, Hunters Creek Village 69, Sunnyside 69, Homestead 68, mild, muggy with patchy, dense fog across the area tomorrow. Cypress 69, Meyerland 69, Pasadena 68, Baytown, the Port, Seabrook, close to the bay. Fog will be thicker there. You'll be in the upper 60s as we get up in the morning. 60s, upper 60s, really across the board. Galveston wakes up at what will be a very foggy 68. And then Friday's numbers, 78, with inland areas seeing skies go partly cloudy. By noon, high temp goes up to 81, so we warm up once again. The record's 83 tomorrow, so that one would be safe if we only hit 81. Temps across the nation, relatively typical for this time of the year, although we are unusually warm here. Houston 72, Dallas 74. You know, they're 28 in Bismarck, International Falls 25, Burlington, Vermont's at 18, Boston 27. Raining out on the West Coast. San Francisco is a very wet 56 and LA is a wet 64. We'll look at the rain out there in a second. First of all, temps, global temperature. So again, we're 31 below Carmax, Old Crow 29 below, Yellowknife 22 below. Some of the coldest air on the planet is still right here. This is going to slide to the southeast. So the Great Lakes and the Northeast are going to get some of this bitter cold air. They're bracing across the upper Midwest for a real hard freeze coming into the weekend and early next week. Here we are at 72. We're actually going to end up getting a glancing blow of this. It's going to be a little colder here next week than we first thought. So we're looking at a big change going into Monday morning. You'll need jackets and sweaters and coats at that point. Okay, back to the map. A few snow flurries across Lake Superior. Houghton, Michigan's getting snowed on. The UP's getting snow. It's really out west, and in particular, it's California. Several days now of heavy rain. Mudslides are happening. They're getting a lot of flash flooding, not only in San Francisco and Northern California, but also across Southern California down to Los Angeles. And that is very heavy snow. They're measuring snow, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet of snow. Has and will continue to come down over the past several days in the Lake Tahoe area. Sierra Nevadas are putting a lot of snow in the snow bank and the water bank right now, with more rain coming into Northern California. Significant mudslide threat for Northern California here over the next 24 hours. That trough out west represents change, and I wanted to begin to show you with the changes that are coming for us by looking at forecast dew points, measure of moisture in the atmosphere. So we've been very humid the past several days, almost the entire week. It's allowed for fog to develop, and we will stay just like that with dew points in the 60s through Sunday. And then everything is going to change Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That represents a cold front coming in with much drier air that'll sweep all the fog and humidity out of here, and it's going to bring in some much colder weather. So let's talk about the changes that are coming. Here's the setup right now at the upper levels. Trough out west off the California coast. So that big trough, when you get a trough in the wind flow, and this is the wind flow up at 34,000 feet, get a trough like that, it usually means rain, which is what they've got out west, and colder weather, which is what they also have out west. That's a trough. If you get underneath a ridge, the exact opposite of a trough, which is where we are, what do you get? You get the opposite. You get dry conditions and you get warm conditions, and that's what we, in general, have been getting. But everything is going to flip-flop. So it won't be perfectly smooth, but when I put this in motion, you can, if you squint, follow this trough. It's going to evolve and then eventually evolve into a broader trough for the eastern half of the country. Watch how this goes. There it is. So now that troughiness is across basically from the Rockies east to the east coast. Big trough. So that's going to do one major thing, and what it does is it opens up the flow out of Canada down into the eastern half of the United States. And we are involved in that, and we are going to get a glancing blow of that bitter cold air where we're 30 and 40 below up there in Carmax. We're going to get a glancing blow of that. The heart of that cold air is going to slide down across the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest, and into the Northeast, where they are absolutely going to freeze hard, like teens, single digits, below zero at night in some spots up there. My brother lives in Chicago. My son's up in Chicago. I've got neighbors that live in Chicago. All of them that are back here for Christmas, they're really appreciating our weather right now because they're going back to what is going to be absolutely bitter cold. There's the heart of the cold air, the pink sliding into the Great Lakes early next week. We get chilly, we get a glancing blow, and you can see how, boy, much of the nation is going to get some of that cold air, but the heart of it will be up there in the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest, and the Northeast. 10-day temperature outlook. These are high temperatures forecast for Houston for the next 10 days. We stay well above normal with highs in the low 80s Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's overnight Sunday night into the wee hours of Monday morning. That's when this cold front's going to come through. And you will feel it. It'll bring in a gusty north wind. And it's going to drop high temps from the 80s into the 50s. So it's a huge temperature swing, almost a 30-degree temperature swing from Sunday's high to Monday's high. It is a 30-degree temperature swing if you look at Tuesday's high of 50 on Tuesday. That means we spend most of the day next Tuesday in the 30s and 40s. When we compare it to what we've been enjoying here with highs in the 70s and 80s, it's really going to be a big shock to the system next week. Wednesday, a high of 58. That's New Year's Eve, so it's going to be chilly. You'll need a jacket when you head out to bring in 2026 Wednesday night. And then Thursday, a high of 59 on New Year's Day. Will warm a little bit. Temps moderate going into the end of next week. But those are the big changes that are on the way for high temps. Friday's numbers then, 67, foggy in the morning tomorrow. Warming up to 81, another warm day on Friday afternoon. We will do it again on Saturday, 82. Sunday, 81. Front comes in before sunrise on Monday. Look at the change from 80s to 50s and from lows in the 60s to lows in the 40s and 30s. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's going to be a big change. So the big coat, especially Tuesday morning. New Year's Eve, chilly. New Year's Day, cool, partly cloudy. Other than the cold temperatures, we don't have a whole lot of active weather as far as rain or thunder or that type of thing. But the temperature change that's coming is going to be significant. All right, that's where we stand. Merry Christmas and have a nice, beautiful evening, everybody.